Hey guys, I just recently got all of my Japanese rifles together here on this little display wall in my gun room, and I just wanted to show off some of the rifles here. So I'm going to start off with a Type I, which is kind of the oddball of one of the oddballs of Japanese guns. So you can see that the Type I is a Carcano, kind of dressed up like a Type 38. So the Type I, the stock and everything, it really is an Arisaka stock. You can tell it's much wider than a regular M91 Carcano. And then obviously the Type I doesn't have the Mannlicher magazine, it has a Mauser magazine. So it's a pretty interesting rifle. Now these two long rifle Type 38s here, this is an early and a later one. So this is like an early Tokyo and a later Nagoya there. And you can kind of see some of the differences between the early and the late production. So you have the early safety versus the later safety. And then the rear sights here, early style, sort of little V-notch rear sight versus the rear aperture kind of rear sights. And then the early guns, unprotected front sights, and then the later 38s, they have the protected front sights that are kind of similar to the carbines. So we'll go into the carbines here. So this is an early Tokyo carbine, and this is actually a Mukden carbine. So you can see the rear sights here. One of the differences, earlier kind of V-notch rear sight versus the rear aperture rear sight. Other than that, they're pretty close. Not a whole lot of changes between the Type 38s. And now with Type 99s, you kind of run the gambit of changes here. So these are kind of earlier Type 99s here with the AA sights and the monopods and cleaning rods, all that kind of stuff. And then you can see they kind of changes start happening through the war when you end up at the last ditch guns here. But you do have sort of transitions from the guns with monopods. They did go on some makers to just like the monopod mount without the monopod. So if you see a gun like that, it doesn't mean it's incorrect until eventually these rear bands here that just have no attachment for monopod. And then here's a sort of more last ditch kind of monopod. And these are kind of the transition of the rear sights. That's kind of late Type 38. Here's a later Type 38 rear sight, and you kind of see that reflected here in the Type 99s. They drop off the AA sights, get super crude, primitive here with the last ditch 99s. And this is a trainer Type 99, just to sort of show it. And then here, this is what is a last ditch Type 35, which the collectors call the 0245. These are pretty weird guns, just Type 35s that were made in 1945. And then these are two post-war Arisakas. So this guy here, this is a Type 99. And looking at it, you might not think it's really that much different, just kind of a late, Type 99 with the rear aperture sight. But the Chinese rebarreled this to 8mm Mauser. So this one is an 8mm Mauser. And this little guy here, you might think it is a carbine, which I guess it sort of is. This was a long rifle, Type 38, still has its long rifle rear sight. But this was shortened and rechambered in 7.62x39. This is actually an SKS front sight on this Chinese. I did a video just about this gun. So this one shoots 7.62x39, and that one's an 8mm. So there's lots of neat kind of post-war variants of the Arisakas if you wanted to get into them. But there you go. That's my sort of lineup, and sorry for the mess.